So, welcome once again. We were discussing about impact of environmental regulation on firms' competitiveness, right? And yesterday we talked about the Porter hypothesis, where basically he said that a well-designed environmental regulation, if implemented properly, then that will lead to innovation, and as a result of which firms will get more output, also the lower level of pollution. That means, well designed regulation will lead to a win-win situation, right. And he has put forward several arguments to support his hypothesis, and he also collected hundreds of case studies over a dozen of countries to establish his claim. But as we said, since his hypothesis was not based on a theoretical framework, later on the other group of economists, they highly criticized Porter's argument, and they also came up with an alternative theoretical framework to challenge Porter's idea. So, today's discussion is again based on another journal article, and the title of that article is Tightening Environmental Standard a benefit cost or no cost paradigm. So, this is the journal article, and it is written by Palmer, Oates and Paul Portney. Okay. Now, before we come back to this Palmer, Oates and Portney's argument, let us summarize the Porter's framework. What basically Porter said that firstly, the Porter suggested the kind of regulation which is basically market based. So, according to Porter, regulation should be market based. Like emission tax or tradable pollution permit. And not of command and control type. What is command and control? Where either emission or technology is fixed by the authority. Now, we will discuss later on when we will discuss about the micro level scenarios that regulation is basically of two types. One is called market based instruments like emission tax and tradable pollution permit, where regulator's role is only to assign the tax and the firms will decide how much to pollute based on the tax, and that may lead to technological innovation also, because if the firm goes for pollution abatement by technological innovation, then they have to abate less amount of pollution. So, there would be some kind of cost saving. They can actually avoid this emission tax by improving their level of abatement, and improvement in their level of abatement is possible only through technological innovation. So, what Porter said is basically market based instrument, emission tax or tradable pollution permit, and not of command and control type. In command and control, basically either the technology or the pollution level is fixed by the authority. That means, they said that it is only 20 kg of CO2 that you are allowed to emit, or this is the standard, this is the technology all of you must adopt. So, in command and control, then there is no flexibility given to the firms to reduce the pollution further, because 20 kg is the per ton of cement. Even if I have an ability to reduce the 20 kg to 10 kg by technological innovation, I have no incentive to do that, because that is the thing. Similarly, if technology is also set by the authority, they have less or no incentive to go for even better technology. So, basically then from this what we can deduce that Michael Porter actually, by well designed regulation, he actually meant the market based instrument. Okay, that is one thing. Then secondly, what Michael Porter also assumed, that there is a private sector overlooking profit making opportunities by technological innovation and the policy makers have the ability to correct this market failure by introducing stringent regulation. Okay. So, that means the private sector, they are continuously overlooking these profit making opportunities by technological advancement and pollution abatement, and policy makers, they have the ability to correct this market failure by introducing stringent regulation. So, stringent regulation will induce the firms to go for innovation, and that will result in win-win situation. And lastly, Porter also assumed that basically basically the static mindset of the economists prevent them understanding the true role of regulation. Okay. He assumed that since a group of economists, they have a static mindset where everything is already decided, they fail to understand the true role of the regulation. They think that regulation is bad. A regulation once imposed, that will only create a pressure and reduce the competitiveness of the firms. Actually, that may not be the case. So, if you think if you put regulation in a dynamic setup, then basically regulation will give opportunities for the firms to go for technological innovation. These are the couple of points that summarizes the Porter's framework. Then this Paul, Portney, Oates and Palmer, Oates and Portney, what they said that there is some kind of contradiction in Porter's argument itself. First of all, the static mindset and market based instrument. Porter said the regulation should be market based. So, market based instrument or MBI in short, market based instrument and static mindset cannot go together. That is the first point. Okay. At the one hand, Porter he himself suggested for market based instrument, and market based instrument is actually thought of by the economists in a dynamic setup, because policymakers' role is to impose the tax, then over a period of time the firm will decide how much to pollute based on the tax, and they will decide what type of technological innovation to make. Okay. So, when I am thinking that this tax is actually induce the firms to go for innovation, how can that be a static mindset? Okay. If at all the policymakers they have static mindset, they would have suggested command and control, because in command and control only everything is fixed. There is no dynamism, there is no flexibility given to the firms to improve their technology over a period of time. But this market based instrument like tradable pollution permit or emission tax, when we will discuss in later, you will see that they are actually better. Market based instruments are better than this command and control CAC. So, what they said that MBI is better than command and control CAC for the dynamic efficiency that the former provides. Okay. MBI is thought to be better than command and control for pollution control, because MBI gives a dynamic efficiency of pollution control through technological innovation. So, that means at the one hand you are suggesting market based instrument, at the other hand you are saying that the neoclassical economists, they actually have a static mindset. Then Porter, he himself had some kind of contradiction in his argument. So, that is what this Palmer, Oates and Portney, they first highlighted. This is the first point, that there is contradiction in Porter's argument itself. Market based instrument and static mindset cannot go together, because economists, they realized that the market based instruments are better than command and control, because MBI provides dynamic efficiency. MBI is thought on a dynamic efficiency ground, because it gives flexibility to the polluting units for technological innovation over a period of time. Okay? That is the argument what he suggested. And secondly, Palmer, Oates and Portney, Palmer, Oates and Portney, what they suggested, that economists generally think about appropriateness of a policy or regulation on a benefit and cost framework. So, that means regulation should be evaluated on a cost benefit framework. Which Porter failed to do. Michael Porter suggested environmental regulation, rather stringent environmental regulation, on the ground that regulation will motivate the firms to go for pollution abatement. But he has not clearly quantified what would be the cost of that regulation, what would be the benefit of that regulation. He has simply said it will lead to innovation. What are the actual benefits of regulation? Regulation, if at all, motivates the firm for pollution abatement. Of course, due to lower pollution level, the mortality and morbidity of the people will come down, then property value will increase, that means land value will increase, so on and so forth. These are all the benefits. But he remains silent, almost silent about the cost of this regulation. In this world, actually nothing you can think of which is costless. So, what Porter said, that there are n number of 10 rupees or $10, 100 rupees or $100 simply lying on the road, and we have to just go and simply pick it up. So, while economists, they say that in this world there is no free lunch. So, economists said, no, economists believe there is no free lunch. Free lunch in this world. Okay? If you want to achieve something, you must give a price for that. There is no free lunch. But in Michael Porter's argument, since he remained completely silent about the regulation, it appears that a regulation actually provides the society not only a free lunch, but a paid lunch. Okay? But a paid lunch. But according to Porter, regulation A regulation gives not only a free lunch, but also a paid lunch. Paid lunch. What is the meaning of paid lunch? That means you come to my home, have lunch, then while going back, I will give you some money for coming and having lunch at my home. That is called paid lunch. Why the lunch is paid in Porter's argument? Because of more than fully offsetting behavior of the regulation. The regulation is leading to innovation that gives more output, which more than fully offset the cost of regulation. Cost of innovation, that means what Porter said, that there is no cost for imposing environmental regulation, rather the lunch is paid, which is completely against the economists' view, wherein they believe, economists, they believe there is no free lunch in this world. There is no free lunch in this world. Whatever you achieve, you have to pay a price for that. So, because of this, why this has happened? Because he has not mentioned about the cost. What is the cost of regulation? So, this Palmer, Oates and Portney, then they developed a simple framework to highlight the cost of regulation also. And what was their objective? Their objective was to show if regulation, if innovation was not profitable before imposition of the regulation, it is still not profitable even after imposition of the regulation if you include the cost component carefully. What is the cost for technological innovation, right? So, now we will discuss that simple model suggested by Palmer, Oates and Portney to challenge Porter's argument. Let us see what is the framework, simple framework that they have designed.